computer. We're going to, so bear with us everyone. We're going to live stream this into my Facebook group, Glow Your True Colors. So bear with us now for a minute. It should be in.
I heard a beep.
Oh, my kids coming in. My kids coming in when they should be out. But anyway, they've promised to be quiet. So is it record? I think it is recording. So let's see. So, so we're going to go live now. Second time lucky. Me and my tech. Hello everyone. It's Marcia Regan here, founder and owner of Glow Your True Colors, and we're doing a take 2 here on my first ever zooming into Facebook. So welcome everyone, and please bear with us because we're going to see, just hold on a minute. Cedric, can you please leave the room? I've got my kids now in homeschooling. Cedric and Elodie, please leave the room now. Thank you. Out you go. And we are having an amazing conversation here that I feel is going to inspire everybody, because I really believe that this is the way, well, actually, this is the way to live in the new world, right? So we've all been prepared to really show the importance of, you know, not being head-led, but heart-led and divinely led. And so I am absolutely honored and thrilled to share this interview here with you and to share the beautiful Wendy Pryor and her gorgeous oracle deck that you will have seen me use, the Wisdom of Change, the perfect deck for a time where everybody is being inspired and encouraged and kicked into change. So over to you, Wendy. So do you want to introduce yourself, and we can just get the conversation going about really what it means to be divinely led and the magic and the, you know, the joy of living from this place.
Absolutely. I mean, I love the idea of being divinely led, and I'll be honest with you, I think half the time I'm divinely dragged. So we'll go into that. But when I allow myself to be led, then it's so much more beautiful. So thank you so much for having me here. As you say, my name's Wendy Pryor. If you want to find out a bit more about me, I've got a really sort of basic website which just gives a few facts about me on wendypryor.com, so you can go and have a little look over there if you want to. I think you're probably going to find out quite a lot more about me as I share my story on the interview. So I'm just really, really honoured that you love my deck and that you use it with your Facebook followers, and I've been really humbled actually by how the deck is landing with people, because any of you listening who have ever created something will know how difficult it is sometimes to let go of your baby. And just when you held it up there, you know, and you're in your home and you held up the deck, I thought, oh wow, yeah, it's actually out there in the world. It's like, I guess it's like watching your kids graduate or watching your kids leave the nest. So it's quite a thrill when I see the work out there. So thank you very much for having me here today. So what do you think would be a really great way to serve?
So let's just talk about the whole journey, and well, for me, I just feel the Divine Feminine way is about trusting, following your intuition, having deep faith, and also surrendering into the divine plan, and kind of letting go, right? Completely letting go and still believing that there is something inside in you that is meant for the world, that you know, that there is a process in place, right? And so when people see books and oracles, and in my case, I've just recently, well, at the weekend, my tool of finding out your soul color personality went live, and I have been working on that for like a good year and a half. So now that the Facebook Live is gone again, so I think we're going to continue with our conversation. I think what we'll do, so it's not working, so we'll just continue our conversation, and I'll put it in the Facebook group afterwards.
Yeah.
And so I just feel that the whole idea is to reassure people that if something isn't working, it doesn't make it wrong or right. It just is an opportunity for you to get out of your own way and allow the divine to lead. So I would love to hear your journey on to inspire people of what it takes, number one, and the benefit, actually, now that you've walked the path of what this is about, you know, what the benefit, of what actually happens and what's involved behind the scenes.
Amazing. Yeah, I'm happy to share. I mean, I suppose this journey for me started about 8 years ago, really. And I don't know how many people will be able to relate, but I was in a career. So I had a salaried position, and I was in the education sector. So I was a lecturer, and I was a kind of manager within the post-compulsory education sector. And I really loved my work. So I'm passionate about horses, and I was lecturing in the agricultural sector, and working with horses every day, and I loved it. And then, you know how you get promoted to that point sometimes in vocational type jobs where you're not doing the thing that you initially went into anymore, you're perhaps doing more of the management and the paperwork side. And so I'd started to not love my job as much, and although the wage was good and on paper it looked like my salary was getting better and more successful, I was starting to get that sort of slightly withering feeling inside, that sense that, oh, okay, if I imagine my life now on this trajectory for the next 40 years, does it excite me on any level? No. Does it scare me a little bit? Yeah. And it was equally as scary to think that I wouldn't get a monthly wage, but it was scary in the way that I thought, I can't see where the joy will come from. I can't see where the excitement will come from. And I can't imagine this for the rest of my life. So it scared me. It did. And even though the alternative looked scary as well, what I noticed happening was that the old rules didn't work anymore. So I don't know if anyone can relate to this, but you know, the things that I used to do to get a result, all of a sudden it wouldn't work. So I'd push and I'd control, and I'd mastermind my way out of it, and I would use my intellect, and I would make it happen and push forward and have a goal and move towards it, and it just wasn't working. And I thought, oh no, I'm losing my touch. I can't make things happen anymore. And I really got quite stuck, quite scared, and thought, okay, I'm not happy. So I remember having that, eat, pray, love moment, which was kind of like me and the divine. And I said, okay, I'm listening. What am I missing here? How am I going to bring joy back into my life? We were pre-children. And I just let go, I suppose. I was curious enough and young enough and foolish enough and silly enough to ask, to be shown. And within, I don't know, maybe a month of that, so I don't mean to scare anyone, but within a month of that, I'd been made redundant. I found out that I was pregnant with my first child. I had a blazing row with the father of my children, and we split for a period of time. We did get back together for a while and then split. And everything literally started to fall away. So on the surface, it was terrifying. And underneath, I think I was secretly quite excited. Scared, but excited. And I think that, when I talk about it now, I suppose it's really everybody's worst nightmare come true, that the thing that you fear the most that might happen is what sometimes does happen. Because I think in life, we fear change, because what we want is, we want more of what we like and less of what we don't. But of course it doesn't work like that. Sometimes the whole lot falls away. Not always, but for me, the whole lot had to fall away because I was gripping so tight, and then it had to rebuild from the, you know, from the ground roots up. I've worked with lots of people for whom change happens, and it's extremely powerful, but they don't necessarily lose everything. So I don't want to sort of scare people and say, you know, if you say yes to change, you're going to, you know, lose everything that you had. But looking back, I realized that everything did have to go. The job had to go, the relationship had to go, my mindset had to change in a radical way, and so it all fell away. But replaced in its place was, I didn't know it at the time, but I had a sense of it, this incredibly exciting journey of self-discovery ahead. And actually, it was what I signed up to. I think if somebody had said, would you like to lose your job and your relationship and find yourself pregnant, I would have said, no, thanks. But actually, looking back, it's exactly what I wanted and exactly what I needed. So that was the beginning of it. That was the start of the change process. And life suddenly then got exciting. And I wasn't worried anymore about the trajectory that my life was on, because I didn't know what it was going to be. I just knew it felt good not to be stuck.
Oh my God, I love that. So this is exactly what I feel a lot of people in the world are going through now.
Yeah.
And it is this, and I feel actually what has happened, what happened for you and what happened for, you know, for me as well. I asked a question to myself at 33, you know, again, if I keep doing the same thing, I'll create the same result. And in 10 years time, do I want this? And I was just like, no, what have I always talked about? I've never done. And I literally did it. And I feel that society has, and culture has told us that to be happy, you have to have the this, the that, you know, the relationship, the house, the kids, the dependable job, the well-paid, and all of that. And it's false. Because when you create something from that place, you're actually not creating your soul's life. You're creating a projection of society. And I see an awful lot of people running themselves into the ground, and they may have all of those things, but are they happy inside? And I'm like, what is the point? What is the point? So I feel this time with the coronavirus is that it's a really amazing time to say, and I've been saying the energy every time I've been tuning in with it, it's the impossible is possible. And so this is this proves what you're saying, really, that it really is about discovering you first and really asking yourself the difficult questions and taking time to be with the unknown, because sometimes we don't know. But I know that the known and the unknown are the same, because the moment you know, the quantum field and energy of that knowing has changed immediately. So if we could, you know, move away from the need to know and step into trust and into the divine plan and breathe a lot and be open, then you're going to get more than you thought was possible. Which brings me to the next point of what happened next, Wendy.
Oh my goodness. I mean, Marcia, you know, this journey is such a rush and such a ride. It's like, I love the idea that, you know, we need to go with the flow of things. Yeah. And we need to trust and we need to let go. And, you know, we're all clinging on to the riverbank. We're all there, you know, trying to resist the flow. And it's interesting because sometimes we get washed into the stream, to use the analogy, and we find a post to cling to, and we cling on to that while the water's battering us and it feels horrendous. And we cling to the post thinking it's safe, but we're kind of making the post wrong.
Yeah.
You know, it's just, you have to let go and you have to enjoy the exhilaration of the ride. And then you look around you as you're going down the river and you say, okay, over there's a log. It's moving in the same direction as me. Let me just hang on to the log, and then, you know, when I get a chance, I'll add something to it and I'll build myself a raft, and then you're away. And every single fiber of your body wants to resist being in fear. But this is the kind of the basement work. This is where, to your point entirely, we go underneath the false floor that we've built our lives on, and we go and see what's in our basement. And that is this inside job work that you're talking about. And, you know, there are so many people. I remember talking to somebody once about coaching. I'd retrained as a coach after I got made redundant. I retrained as a coach, and I remember talking to this friend of mine that I knew really well, and she was a massive adventurer. She loved going and doing skiing and all these outdoor pursuits, and she was the most incredible woman. And I said to her, you know, have you ever thought of coaching? Because we were talking about my coach training, and I was telling her about how amazing it was. She said, oh God, no. She said, I'd never be coached. And she said, I would hate to know. I would absolutely hate to know what I would find out about myself.
There you
and
go.
I remember thinking, this was the most extraordinary thing, because I'd got so hooked on the coaching and the coaching tools and techniques, and that sense of wanting to understand self and to go and find what it is, you know, this soul's journey that you talk about, that for me it was completely incredulous and completely beyond my realm of understanding that anybody would not want to know something about themselves that was hidden from view. So I do understand from that one comment alone that it can be incredibly terrifying to know yourself. And, you know, there are some times when I've been on my journey and I've been coached where I thought, ouch, you know, that really stings. That, you know, that thing that I've learned about myself there is like, oh, that was like ripping a plaster off. But you know what? The more you come eyeball to eyeball with what you believed before to be the scariest parts of yourself and the most terrifying things that you can possibly ever experience. So I often laugh and I say every single one of the things that I was scared about from being a teenager onwards happened to me systematically, one thing after another. Unplanned pregnancy, you know, single mother, not a bean, you know, in my bank account, no idea where I was going, no wage, no freedom, everything systematically, one thing after another happened to me. And it was terrifying. And yet there is something that happens to you. I think it must be like the process of giving birth, that you get to that point, don't you, in the birthing process where you think, I can't go on, it's too scary, it's too painful, I'll never do this, it's awful. And then you get to the other side, and not only are you holding this baby, but you're forever changed. Suddenly you're in the mother archetype, you've left behind the maiden archetype, the whole energetic picture has shifted. And yes, it was hard, but I think for 99.9% of us, we would never choose to go back, because there's all this incredible strength and power and beauty and this whole new trajectory to life on the other side. And that's exactly how it felt for me going through this process, that once you've looked every single fear that you've ever had in the eye and come out the other side and you're still there, you just feel, I mean, it's so exhilarating. It's so much fun. And you suddenly get to realize that you get to create whatever you want to from this place. When you're that light and buoyant and flexible and you can move with whatever's coming, then you really get to co-create, and you really get to create product, and you get to write books, and you get to create businesses, or you get to express yourself more deeply and more authentically within the career that you're in. It just all opens out. So it's everything to play for.
Oh my God. Oh my God. That's fantastic. Fantastic. So you do want to share then about like where you were in relation to the creation of this book, because it's very easy now for people to see, oh, she's an author of these books, a creator of this oracle deck, and how easy, how beautiful they are, which I'll show in a few moments, how beautiful they are. And now they're in, the hands of the likes of me and others. And it's just like, but actually the behind the scenes of what was required of you to birth these because I feel that what we have to really look at is that when we are in that creation process and we are partnering with the divine, the more that we let the divine, we have an idea, but we let the divine lead the way. And I feel how you've weaved through to get, you know, the stages to get you here today is a really important, inspiring story, because it, and I hope it will inspire others to actually follow their dream and their acorn that they're connecting with, but that actually may not necessarily, they think it's an acorn, but it's another seed, but it's the seed of their truth and of their soul mission and soul purpose. Because I really believe that we all have a divine plan and a reason inside in us, and our job is actually to discover that and give way and expand enough for that to really thrive and grow.
Oh my goodness. I mean, absolutely. I would say, first thing that comes to my mind is whatever it is you've got in your mind's eye, never give up. Because it sometimes takes a really, really long time to get there. But it's almost like that process is a maturation process. So the thing that you think that you've got right now, it may be that, but it might be something better than that, bigger than that, slightly different from that. But whatever it is that you've got in your mind's eye right now that you think, oh God, I wonder if I could ever do that, or I wonder if that could ever happen, or I'd really like to do that, but I have no idea how I'm going to make it happen. They are the seeds. They're the seeds you talk about. Yeah. So when I was on my journey of discovery, I don't know about you, I'm so sorry, I'm just slightly off camera here, but I have this is like one handful of the collection of card decks that I have. And I absolutely love them. And you know, as I was going through my own change process, one of the first tools that really lit me up were these card decks. And I remember thinking, wow, Oracle decks, they're so magical. I wonder who you need to be and what special powers you need to have to create these beautiful, beautiful things. You know, they're so gorgeous. Oh, well, I'll never do that. So I just kind of parked it. And Spirit allowed me to imagine that I one day might write a book. So it was kind of like you have this gorgeous kind of dream of like this place where you hardly dare to even imagine that it would be possible for you to create something. So I don't know how many of you got that going on. And then you get given, all right then, well, here's an alternative substitute that seems a lot more logical. So for me, a book was much more up in my mind, which is where I was safe. You know, it's sort of a little bit kind of academic, isn't it, to have a book and hold it, and it's a little bit more traditional. And I think on my journey I was afraid that some of the spiritual aspects of what I was learning would be perceived as woo-woo or crazy, and you know, that some of my professional credentials would somehow be challenged, and that people would think that I was crazy, and you know, all that stuff, that really deep drama space that comes up when you feel afraid. So what the universe would allow me to see is that it might be possible one day for me to write a book. So I had many conversations with publishers and you know, and book coaches, and I signed up to I had a book coach that helped me to channel a book. I had another book coach that would help me to write a business book. I had another book coach that was going to show me how to publish my book. So I spent a lot of money and a lot of time and effort writing my book. And I had about 80,000 words of a book. And I had lots of different ways in which I could write a book. I could tell you how to write a book. I could write a book about that. And it got to the point where these 80,000 words were just not looking like a book. And it was really frustrating. And I was completely stuck in the birth canal with this book. And I thought to myself, oh, do you know what I need? I'm so lost in the content now. 80,000 words is way too big. How am I going to make this pithy? How am I going to really get the real little nuggets, the real, you know, juice of this, the real healed reality of the things that I've been through and the stories that I want to share? I almost need like a series of paragraphs, of summaries of things that I want to say. And I thought, then I can move those paragraphs around and maybe the book will fall out of that. So I started to write down these paragraphs and thought, hang on a minute, this looks remarkably like a project that I started a while ago that was kind of a card deck. And I thought, oh, isn't that funny? There's that card deck idea again. So this will make you giggle. I was talking to my book coach, and the book coach said, do you need an illustrator for anything? And I said, no, my book definitely won't have any illustrations in whatsoever, because it makes the whole printing process much more expensive. So I definitely don't need an illustrator. And he said, oh, and he's a very intuitive man, this guy. And he said, oh, I just feel like you need an illustrator. And I said, no, I don't. No, I definitely don't. And he said, have you got any other projects that need an illustrator? And I said, no. He said, I tell you what, I'm going to put you in contact with this lady. She's an illustrator, and I really just feel that you ought to talk to her. So I thought, well, that sounds extraordinary. I'll probably just ignore that. But then, you know, when you get that tap on the shoulder that you think, oh, I wonder why I should be speaking to her. So I contacted this wonderful woman. She's called Siri. She lives in Norway. And I said, this chap, Tom Evans, he put me in contact with you, and he thinks that we should have a conversation. And I thought, do you know, I don't need an illustrator, but maybe I'm supposed to speak to this lady about something else. So she said, I'd love to speak to you. Let's have a chat. So we had a Zoom call, just like this one. And she said, so you don't need an illustrator then? And I said, no, I'm writing a book. And I said, it doesn't need any illustrations. It'll just make the printing process so much more expensive. So no, I don't, but tell me a bit about you. She said, but do you have any other projects? And I said, no, nothing at all. I said, gosh, there was a card deck project I started years and years ago, but I said, that's not ready. She said, that's it. That's what I need to illustrate. She said, I have wanted to illustrate a deck of cards for as long as I can remember. And I said, but no, you're not listening. I said, I'm writing a book. I said, I've got 80,000 words of a book. And I said, the card deck it's not even quarter of the way finished, I don't think. She said, well, why don't you send me over the cards that are finished? And I said, oh, well, I haven't looked at it for ages. Well, okay. So I went back into my phone. I dusted off the wording of the cards that I'd written about 2 years ago. And I thought, oh, these are really good. And I'd been channeling these little messages all the way through my change process. And it was weird. It was as something clicked for me. So as one of the concepts in the card deck, I've got them here as well. These are all like little nuggets of wisdom. And as they clicked in for me, I thought, oh, that's useful. I've been using that with my clients again and again and again. I'll just capture the essence of that paragraph and I'll keep it to one side because I'm bound to use it at some stage. And I dusted off these paragraphs and I thought, oh, well, that's my card deck. So I said, oh, well, I'll send them over to you. You can have a look. Because I thought, I haven't got time really to spend a lot of time on this. I'll just send them to her. And then maybe she'll realize she doesn't want to, illustrate them after all. And that will be the end of it. I swear, within 5 minutes of me sending her these shells of a card deck wording, she was back to me. She said, I'm so in love with the words on this card deck, Wendy. I'm so moved to illustrate them. Would you let me illustrate them? So I said, okay. And it literally went from there. So that was how much I resisted. That's how much I wouldn't allow myself. That's how much I was in conflict with what wanted to birth first. I mean, I have no doubt that at some stage I'll write my book, but this card deck was ready to be born. And it didn't matter how many times I tried to logically put myself in the place of writing a book, it wouldn't come. And this was in the birth canal and just needed to come through. So sometimes we fight our good, we fight our flow. And it always makes me laugh because you can never see it in the moment. But if anyone listening is in that conflict place with a project that they've got going, I would say it's interesting. This week's card is Let It Be Easy. And I would encourage you to do that. Just let it happen because it's wanting to come in, in a particular order that you don't have sight of yet. So trust in those forces, and see what happens.
Yeah, amazing. And then also, I say a lot to my clients about this collaboration that happens. It's just like, like when we're working with clients, I really believe that the clients that I'm meant to work with in the certain phase of their soul's journey, it's a soul contract between me and that person. And I also believe that by you stepping up, you also contributed to that woman living out her soul, the next phase of her soul's development and her soul's journey. So it was a beautiful collaboration, and it just shows as well that in this world, this new world that we are creating, it is about collaboration. It's about, coming together and co-creating something, and realizing that we are, to be honest, we're all in this together. We're just at different phases and different stages of our soul's journey, but it doesn't make us more than or less than. It just means that we are all this vibrant life force that really wants more for you than you can even want for yourself, and it's giving way to that life force, that energetic force that's there. And it's like we need the reminders, we constantly need the reminders and the reassurance, and that you've got this, everything is working out in divine and perfect order, whatever my mantras are, whatever mine by divine right is mine. And it's then opening and being available for that. And so you've just demonstrated all the things that you did. But also I feel that if you look as well at your past, you were being prepared for the work that you're doing now. You were being prepared, like you were already lecturing, teaching, you did the life coaching, you learned more about who you are, you let go of all the things that were not really for your divine good, and you've walked the path, and therefore that enables you now to use that wisdom to share with others, to inspire them to live out their version of greatness.
Absolutely. And I would say to people listening that the symptoms for me were about life being really hard work, really scary, really hard, nothing working anymore, nothing exciting, lots of parked hobbies, lots of drama in the space. I was always getting hooked in by some drama that was going on, and then trying to go over there and be the diplomat and fix things and sort things, and always second guessing, always feeling shame, guilt, fear, always feeling slightly uneasy, always wondering what's next, what's more, is this it? Where has the joy gone? And if you're feeling any of those symptoms at all, that for me is a big red light for let go of control.
Yeah.
Because when you feel like that, it's all very, as I'm speaking about it, I remember how I felt, and it's all very, very constricting and punitive and prohibitive. And I often talk about how I felt like I was drowning in a sea of no's. I was a no to myself. I was a no to everything that was going on. I was in fear of what would happen if I stepped outside the box. I worried what I would lose. I had no guarantee of what was ahead. And I think, when we're hanging on to guarantees, and when we're saying, well, I don't want to lose what I've got, and, I don't know if I'll get a return on my investment. How many times have we said that? You're literally bargaining with your own good. And all of that stuckness feels like fear and drama and dis-ease. And the minute I let go, somebody said to me, please resign as general manager of the universe. You're really, really bad at the job, and you really need to resign. And I was like, oh my goodness, because I think as well as capable women, we really pride ourselves on our ability to do things, you know, to get things done, to achieve things. So just suddenly kind of, you know, let go into this sea of spiritual kind of trust, and it just seems incredibly irresponsible. I felt incredibly reckless, incredibly self-indulgent, and yeah, I had some friends at the time who thought I was going mad. They thought I was losing the plot, and it deeply challenges other people when you do it. So you know, very, very triggering for other people when you suddenly say, "This isn't working for me. I'm going to try something new, and I'm going to go with the flow." And so, yeah, I just thought that might be helpful, because I think so many people at the moment are in fear. So many people are feeling some of the symptoms that I was feeling. You don't have any guarantees. That's the thing. You know, so if people, your friends who are really like logically minded, and they say, yes, but what about your return on investment? How will you know for sure that you're not going to lose that thing over there? The answer is you really don't. You don't know. And
Yeah,
that's where
and the other thing I think I'll say as well is that's changing two words. Like, well, actually one word in exchange of another. It's like we have come from a world of getting, and I feel people need to change the word to receiving. Because you will receive something, but you won't get. And I have said that to a few people. Like, I'm thinking, if you want to get something from me in our work, then we can stop this right here, right now, because you'll get nothing from me. But what you will get, instead you will receive. And I feel that it's like the only sure thing that you have in your life is you. Is your power, your intuition, your spirit, your soul's blueprint that you came into the world with. That's sure. Now, the fact that you can't see it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. And I feel this is what there's been so much time, energy, and focus put on the intellect, and the mind, and the proof, and the science, and I'm like, hold on a minute, has anybody taught you about your soul? Has anybody taught you about your intuition? And then to understand that all those feelings that you were talking about, Wendy, these are the wounds of the divine feminine, of what has happened to women through many, many, many lifetimes. And so our job is to heal all of that, to get out of those patterns of, you know, victimhood, lack, blame, fear, not good enough, you know, being silenced. And this is our opportunity to say, I count, I matter, and if something isn't working, then there is a huge opportunity. And the letting go means to know that your doing creates nothing. It's your being first, and your being, how am I being, what am I feeling, what am I sensing, and then you do. But your doing actually becomes a completely different approach. It creates a totally different result, and most likely you will be doing what other people aren't doing, and that's why they think you're off your rocker. But you have to really, the only person that you can trust and that you can count on is yourself, and this divine consciousness that is there, no matter what you call it. There is an energetic force that is there for all of us, that has our highest plan. The question lies, are you going to be brave enough to literally stand and say, I'm going to jump, even though you don't see the net, but the net appears, you know? And so I feel you're an example of that, you know?
Oh my goodness. I mean, you know, I had to meet my soul by being slam dunked by the universe consistently. You know, it's kind of like holding my head down underwater. Are you listening yet? No? Okay, down you go again. I really just had to keep happening until I had nothing. I literally remember at one point lying on the floor in a big red brick house that I was renting at the time to do my retreats in. And I remember lying in the house thinking, how am I going to pay the rent? How am I going to find a relationship? How am I going to get out of this mess? You know, I really believed that it was my job to fix everything and to sort everything. And I was so exhausted. And I think many women will relate to this, that feeling of utter exhaustion. And I was so much a doer and so much, oh, well, I will just muscle through because I'm really capable. I wouldn't even let somebody make me a cup of tea. And so I had to be stripped right back. And I remember, you know, being on the dating scene and thinking, I wonder if I might, because for me, the whole dating piece and the relationship with men was a massive part of my journey. And I remember daring myself to wear a dress and allow my date to buy me a glass of wine without having decided where we were going to go. Because the former me would have worn trousers and would have been very, you know, non-feminine. I would have wanted him to enjoy me for what was between my ears, and I would want to be telling him all these, you know, things that I knew and showing off my intellect. And I probably would have organized where we were going, and I would have, if I could have done, I would have paid for the meal. And, you know, I certainly wouldn't let them buy me a drink. So, you know, these, of course, these are all the symptoms of somebody who's not able to receive and who doesn't trust that who they be is what is attractive and what is wanted and needed in the world, you know. And so I was shown that aspect of self through my dating experiences. And it wasn't until I was able to reside in that space where I could be in the feminine and allow that I experienced anything like the grace and ease that I was looking for. And it was quite extraordinary to go through. And I was feeling the same way about my business. I had a set of criteria that I wanted my business to deliver. And I was absolutely convinced that my issue was my business, and all I needed was lots and lots of business training, and then it would all be fine. And it wasn't. It was about understanding myself. It was about understanding myself in relationship. It was about trusting and letting go. It was about getting eyeball to eyeball with my deepest fears and meeting my soul in the place where I literally didn't know how I was going to feed myself that week or how I was going to keep the roof over my head. And that's how much I needed to be stripped back before. I'd love to tell you that I was brave enough to let go, but actually I was not. I was literally beaten into submission until suddenly it was as though I did let go. And it was the most incredible feeling of freedom and hope and excitement and trust, because I had nowhere else to go. All I had was to trust in myself and that soul's journey, because everything else had gone. And that finally was where it started to get good. So I would say to people who are listening, you know, please let go sooner rather than later. Let go and trust.
Amazing.
Because this is the other side of fear, and you can't have the two at once. So if you're in fear, just let go and trust, and then you see which way the bubbles are going, and that's what you follow.
Beautiful. I love that. I'm getting goosebumps about the bubbles.
Yes.
Where the bubbles are going. Absolutely amazing. And basically from where you are to where you are now, it's just like, you know, you're in a beautiful relationship. You have a gorgeous life.
Night and day. I mean, I always say that the man I'm married to now is my epic relationship. I think we all deserve at least one epic relationship in our lives. And, you know, I was, so I just didn't think that it would ever be possible to have a relationship like the one I have now. I was terrified of marriage. I was deeply controlling in relationships, and really from a really good place. I wanted to fix things and make things better and do and provide for everyone. And so I was really in conflict internally with my masculine and my feminine, leading with the masculine, not allowing my partner to have anywhere to go with his. And then my feminine was wounded, and then their feminine was wonky. And I really had to rewire all of that. But in a nutshell, since losing my job and falling pregnant, well, my oldest now is 13. So since falling pregnant and losing my job, I have retrained as a coach. I've been through my own personal journey of profound personal change. I've moved to Dubai, and we live a gorgeous expat lifestyle. We're just about to move back again. So we've been 4 years in Dubai. I've married my soulmate, become a published author with my book. I have basically now a global business, because of course everything can now be done online. And the kids have been to private school, and hopefully that will continue when we're back in England. And everything, even the journey of living in Dubai, it was as though it was designed to show me the rewards of ease that come when you stop controlling and trying to think that you know better.
Yeah.
You know, because that phrase of the thing that you want is only the bit that you're allowed to see. There is just so much more good that's trying to get to you if you would only allow it. And for me, it was about daring myself. How much more can I receive? How much easier can I allow it to be? How much grace can I feel? How much can I trust? And the more I've stepped into that, the more abundant my lifestyle has become, and the more ease, grace, and just sheer, oh my God, can I genuinely believe that I live this lifestyle? You know, the last 4 years have felt like a holiday every single day of my life, and the opportunity to create from a deeply healed reality, and to put the things that I've learned and the good that I always wanted to offer, to allow that to come in through this beautiful vehicle of a card deck. It wasn't about logical business planning. It wasn't about a strengths and weaknesses, you know, SWOT analysis. It wasn't about any of the things that you're told that you should be doing if you want to have a sensible grown-up business. It was about nothing to do with that whatsoever. And I would say to people, go with the feeling that you're looking for. So I was wanting a certain feeling, a certain lifestyle, and that's what my soul was deeply calling me to. But my ego said, well, then you're going to have to work really hard for that, and you're going to have to create a business that looks like this machine over here, and that will churn out enough money for you to have this lifestyle over here. And actually, none of that was true. The two are not joined, or at least haven't been to date. The deal that I struck with the universe without knowing is, let go, and I will give you the ease that you need to create the products that will then lead you on a journey that may be around business. I mean, I've no idea where these card decks are going to take me. And every time I think about, right, I should probably have a plan to sell my card decks, I just giggle and think, no, the card decks will sell themselves, and I will follow their lead, and I will see where it takes me, because I have no idea what comes next. All I know is that my life is now forever changed for the better, and I have a level of abundance in my lifetime and my experience, and a level of security, if we want to call it that, the likes of which I could never have dreamed possible. And we look now about coming back to the UK to buy mortgage-free properties and to live a simple, pared-back life of joy and ease and creation and being of service. That's the thing. It's about saying, I am whatever it is I am, and whatever I'm perceived in the world, how can I be available to offer that to people that need it? And that's basically, from what I can see on this journey, what it's all about.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Oh my God, what a beautiful, beautiful real life story. Because, you know,
Yeah.
people can say, oh yeah, you know, because I've heard a few people say, oh, it's fine for you. I was like, what's fine for me? Why is it fine for me and not for you? But I've had to get out of my own way, do the uncomfortable, trust, because I'm such actually a highly spiritual person, and my language, people were saying she's for the birds. But I'm actually realizing, I remember going to my brother's wedding about 2 years ago, and I was thinking, I've been always told I was living an illusion. And I'm like, they're the ones that are living the illusion. And I'm the one living the reality, because it's such this connection of divine source that doesn't make sense. Like, you know, I'm not the biggest tech person, but you know, I'm able, I just follow the intuitive cues, and I take one action and it creates like 10. The result is if I've taken 10. And so this is the power, I think, of giving in to the change, like the wisdom of the change. Because if what you're experiencing in your life is not working, it's because something has got to change. And if you can give way to the change in the moment, like there is change happening every second of every day, like no minute, no day is the same. And so once we step into the wisdom of change rather than fear the change, then we will soar. And so this is what I want to come on to, these beautiful cards. And so maybe we can pull a card, and you could maybe read the card, you know, your words, and then I can give my insight in relation to the color as I've read them. So we'll pull one each, and we can find.
That sounds amazing. And you know, these cards, as I'm shuffling and getting into the energy of the group, as if I'm not already, it's worth saying that what I've realized when you channel a deck of cards, if anyone's ever thought of doing something like this and wondering, well, hang on a minute, I'm not a medium and I'm not spiritual and I'm not this, that and the other, what you're essentially doing, or what I've found in this process, is that you're actually channeling collective consciousness. So these are born, in my mind, out of my healed reality. Hang on just 1 second.
So I've actually pulled the card that fell out. I didn't pull it, it fell out. And it's a beautiful card, number 1, called
So
Consolidate.
Okay.
Right, so I'm going to talk about that. In fact, I can talk about that now while you're getting yours. So
yes, do.
You can maybe, if you see what card comes out for you, and afterwards see if you can find it, and then you can read the words. So without me reading the words, I'm going to talk about the color. So what's very, very interesting about this card is it's the color of magenta. And funnily enough, would you believe these colors on this card are the colors of my logo, Glow Your True Colors. All of those colors are in there. Wow. Because there's the turquoise, I have violet, which is the color that is available to help me in my life, and magenta, because magenta is one of my favorite colors. So if I look here at the meanings of this, it's like it confirms for me the divine feminine way, which is exactly what we've talked about. It is not the either or, it's the and. I can have that and that and that and that. It is like sitting in the middle of the figure 8, whereby you are connected to earthly goodness and spiritual goodness at the same time. Also, when I look at the turquoise, it's about speaking your truth. And you can see that this is a woman that's on this card, and it is really embracing the womb man, the woman, who you are as a woman, the goddess, the powerhouse. And then you have the violet, which is got to do with your spiritual power, your sensitivity. We've just lost Wendy there. Hopefully she can join back in. And the white, where it's just clearing away, like just clearing away the past, not letting the past define you. and coming back to who you really are. And knowing the protection, like I feel when I look at this, that Mother Mary is so present, that there are all of these beings, and I'm seeing Lakshmi as well coming, and Kuan Yin. These goddesses had carried so much knowledge, magic, healing, empowerment, and divine feminine power. And if we can harness those energies, then it really is going to make a huge, huge difference to you, to your experience, and to the world, okay? Because we, you know, our number one priority is to really, really embrace who we are, and from that place show up as that person, as who we are, because the who on the soul level will never be rejected, because that soul is here to take her place. So I was just saying there, Wendy, that these are like, I see Mother Mary, I see Kuan Yin, I see who is Lakshmi here. Like, this is the divine feminine power coming in here, and it's the consolidate. I haven't read the word, so I'll see. Have you got the card, Wendy? You're muted now, so if you can unmute yourself.
Yes. So I've got the card. Are you talking about the one that I pulled?
No, so just finish the one that I've been giving that reading. So do you want to read the words to see what it says, and then we'll talk about the one you've pulled?
Absolutely. So I cut out there for a little while. Was I gone from the screen?
Yeah, you were.
Okay. Yeah. Perfect. I'm back. Okay, so consolidate. You've made so much change lately. Many congratulations. So I think that probably applies to the whole globe at the moment, doesn't it?
And this actually, magenta is about change. I forgot that. Magenta means change. Okay.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. This card is a reminder to let it land and integrate. You need to honor all the energetic effort that it's taken to embed your new behaviors so far. Stop and breathe. So, you know, for me, this is about, I don't know if you've noticed, but we all are on our own little personal curriculum, aren't we, with the COVID experience? Yeah. And I think, you know, there's not a person listening to this right now who will be unchanged in some way in their life right now.
Yeah.
So it's that really important reminder to just stop occasionally and look at where you're at on the journey. Yeah. Because I think sometimes we can forget. And this card was born out of a time when I was pushing for more change, pushing for faster results, pushing for things to happen that wouldn't come. And the only way I managed to start moving again was when I'd stopped and consolidated what I'd done. And then I was allowed to move again. So that might be an interesting kind of background for.
So what I'd say as well is sometimes instead of stopping, you can pause, because, you know, the idea of stopping, it's like, you know, you start the car, then you have to start the engine again. But if you just press the pause, then it feels like lighter to say, because then when you're ready, then you can press the go button again, but that you're not kind of stopping and starting. So that might also help kind of reframe.
Yeah, I love that reframe. It reminds me of joggers that, you know, when they get to the zebra crossing, they just jog on the spot rather than stop altogether, and then they carry on.
Yeah.
Because, it's true that, you know, it's easier to change the path of a moving object than it is to get the object moving in the first place. So I like that a lot.
Yeah.
There's, you've come a long way. Let everything settle and allow the beautiful sense of calm and well-being to wash over you. And I think that when we do take those pause moments, you know, the hot bath, the cup of tea, the read a book, the sit and stare at the wall sometimes because things get so crazy, you know, we connect to that place where we just go, oh, okay, yes, that's where I was. This is where I'm going. This is how far I've come. And I think those moments are like gold, you know. This is an important period of time. I think we think that when things are still and quiet, that things aren't happening, but actually, if you think about the way bamboo grows, it looks like it grows really quickly, So you'll see a little shoot in the ground with bamboo, and then apparently it grows at a ridiculous rate. All of a sudden, supposedly, it comes and it grows meters and meters very, very quickly. What people don't realize is that it's spent probably a year to 18 months putting down the root infrastructure under the soil first.
Yeah.
And so it's a little like that, you know, that there's a period of root growing at the moment that we've all been doing. And when we stop and we just take rest for a while, then we suddenly see the shoots come up and the bamboo type growth.
Yeah. Beautiful. Take
exquisite care of yourself, and the next step will reveal itself when you are adequately rested. And it literally won't let you go forward until you've stopped and rested and taken a moment. Reflective consolidation is the foundation of effortless and aligned change. It's asking you to go within, connect with that inner source of knowing and reflection, and then face the world again. Then, you know, start to think about the movement again and the progress again.
This is exactly what we're experiencing now in this world. Like, and for me as well, when this COVID happened, I saw all these, you know, coaches and healers running out to save the world. And I was like pulled back going, you're going to wait?
Yeah.
Because why? Because you have to be taken care of first. And if you look at this card, actually, I've just noticed, she's hugging herself. So it's just like giving yourself this hug of going, you're doing fine. Everything is, you know, you're good enough. You're not going to lose out on anything, this FOMO. It's just like, you know, this is a time to reassess and reset what's worked, what's working, what's not working, and go at your pace, not at anybody else's pace. And life is not a race. It's like you are to pace yourself in this life that we're living. So I feel that's an apt card for what is like just the joy, like the intuition, like the gift that you're giving there, Wendy, from that card alone. I feel it's powerful.
Thank you. And, you know, I love the way you did this. And it reminds me, you know, that's a really, really simple technique for people who just need that kind of like hugging of self, that's reassurance. And, you know, with I don't know, you know, what kind of people listen into your Facebook lives, but if you're any form of healer or therapist or coach or guide yourself, then, you know, these cards are great to share with your folk, because what it allows you to do exactly in the way that you do, and I watch your readings because I love them so much. They give me another reframe on the wisdom that already exists in the cards. Yeah. And so that's the gift you give to people when you do readings for them. And when you connect with the cards, your overlay adds message, and so I love that. So that's, you know, that's a really great technique. And I was like, oh, just watching you there and thinking, yeah, that kind of self-care, that exquisite self-care, it'd be something as simple as that. So I love it. I love your take on the colors.
Yeah, great. Yeah. Amazing.
And there's a funny story, actually. You know, you've just reminded me. I went to see a Russian, she was some sort of medium, and she'd come over to Dubai, and the children had made friends with a little Russian lad at their school. And their mum said to me, she must have known, she said, would you like a reading from a friend of mine? And I thought, what a strange thing, because I hardly knew this lady. And I thought, what a strange thing to ask. And I said, yeah, absolutely. And I went along, and this little lady she'd been flown over from Russia, and she was seeing all of this friend of mine's friends. And I had to have a translator sit with me. So she spoke in Russian and gave me my reading. And the translator, who was this woman's daughter, sat there and she translated. Now, it felt really surreal at the time because of this whole piece. It was so unexpected. But I must go and dig out my notes that I took at the time, because she said there is a whole level and layer around these cards and their color. And I said, right, okay. And at the time, you know, I thought, well, I love the colors, because I kept saying, well, I love the colors of the cards too. And she said, no, there is deep meaning in the colors.
Yeah.
So there we go. It's
Go
starting to begin to show itself now with the work and the overlay that you can put on, just literally looking at the color.
Yeah. Amazing, amazing. And then when people see the color, because when you look at a card and you look at the color, the color is taken in through the eyes, from the eyes into your brain, from your brain to your endocrine system, which is responsible for your feelings and your hormones. And so therefore alone, I feel that these cards, there's the energetic shift from the colors that actually are being used. So it's like they're guidance, but they're also healing tools that actually shift something and shift a perspective, which is really, really powerful, you know, because sometimes we don't have to do the work, do this, you know, all we have to do is be available for the gift, right?
Absolutely.
So what about you, Wendy? What did you get?
Well, talking of color.
Oh my God. Letting it in? Oh my God.
And the magenta theme again, super, super strong for you.
Yeah.
Coming up again with interestingly the same border color.
That's right.
There's four suits within the deck, and actually when people buy the card deck, they get access to a PDF that actually it's a free PDF download that actually takes them into the journey of the border colors of the cards.
Oh wow.
So the border colors here, now we've picked 2 cards with the same border color, and the border color is recline. So there's design, align, recline, and trust. It's a dart meta structure within the deck. So we've got letting it in and consolidate. And so it's likely that people are feeling in a stage now where they feel like a lot of work has been done. And they're maybe now feeling frustrated and thinking, well, what's next? You know, because we can get on that trajectory, move. And they might be feeling frustrated and what's next. And the recline suite of the deck is all about the leaning back, the trusting, and the letting it in. So the energy of that is really, really powerful. And actually, this has come up recently. If any of the people listening enjoy blogs, if you go to my website, there's a weekly blog, and I've already written about this card in my blog. So if you're interested, and consolidate, that was actually the first card that came out. So I'm doing a year-long series of weekly blogs. So these have both come up. So if you want more insight, then you can go and look at the blog. So this is letting it in.
This is interesting because what I say is I say lean back and then lean in.
Yes.
And the letting it in around the feminine is their biggest problem, because they say to me, like my clients will say, yeah, but I'm receiving. I'm like, you're not, you may be receiving, but you're not letting it in. So this is like the postman has delivered your package to the door and you have not opened up the door. You have refused to open up the door. And therefore you cannot receive the gift that you have received, but you have to open up the door for it. And so this is so interesting, because this is a big issue for women to let it in. That other level, this is another level of receiving that is essential in the journey of divine feminine power. So like, it's just incredible.
Well, you know, you're making me laugh, and you know, you and I are demonstrating right now the intuition and the energy that you get into when you work in this way. Because look at this is this week's card, and
let it be easy. Oh my God.
Let it be easy. And look, it's the same border color.
Yeah, wow.
It's the same recline and let it in. And you know, there's another similar card in the deck. Oh, there it is. It's right there. That's so weird. I was just going to say the other card, again, the same border color. I've literally just opened the deck. And this one is Gifts in Disguise.
Oh my God. And by the way, there are other colors cards in this deck, okay? Just so you know that it's just like...
And literally, I've got the cards, look, in 2 piles in front of me, and I've pulled off
the
top 4 cards, so it's extraordinary. So, you know, here's the thing, just to empower people as well around these card decks. I think for me, there was a tendency at the beginning of my journey to want to give away my power, to believe that the reader of a deck or the deck itself held the power. What we do when we work in this way is we tune into what is already the wisdom within us. And I know that this wisdom, you're very much about empowering people as well, Marcia, which is why I love your work, because, you know, when we're sort of young in this journey, we don't realize how much power we house ourselves. We want to believe that you know, we need to work with a coach because the coach holds the power, the deck holds the power. What a coach does, or a card deck does, is puts us in touch with our own inner wisdom and our own intuition.
Yeah.
So we as practitioners and the people who are watching, who are healers and therapists, we create the containers for people, but what we're doing is we're offering them the conditions to heal and grow. And I think that's just a really important message that I want to put out there in the world alongside my cards, is that you have the answers, you have the power, and when you do listen within, then you are much more empowered to believe that your good is not attached to something outside of yourself.
Absolutely. Fantastic. So do you want to read that message of that card?
Okay, so letting it in. I love that illustration. It's again the work of Siri. Very, very magical illustrator, works with inks, and that one as a color, just very, very plain, just that one magenta that you speak of. When we become accustomed to struggle and habituated by desire for something we see in the future, we are temporarily unable to take delivery ahead of our self-imposed time frame. It's funny, isn't it? So exactly what we've just been talking about. And we remain stuck. Okay, so I think that sometimes we forget, because of the way life is, and certainly has been, that we don't need to reside in struggle. We can just, this week's card, let it be easy.
Yeah.
We can, to your point, look for the gifts in disguise, the things that people are trying to give us that we are pushing away because we won't allow it to be let in. So if you're feeling stuck, look to see what's low-hanging fruit. Look to see, don't be fooled by the gift wrap, is what I always say. You know, let the gifts come. This card invites you to consider that something that something you long for in the future is actually ready for delivery right now. This is a favorite trick of mine. I often think, oh yes, well, next year, or, you know, in 2 years or in 3 years, and I think it's a business person's thing. We have a timeline and we become mesmerized by our own timeline. And I remember somebody saying to me once, what if you could do it in half the time? And it really just took me back, because I thought, well, that's impossible. And they said, well, you could do that part of it right now. So sometimes we can be on a timeline that we're fooled by. We get hypnotized by it. We think that we can't do things quicker. And actually, if we let it in and we, you know, do these other things in this pink bordered suit, then we can bring it to us much quicker. Look around for low-hanging fruit that you have missed because it's right in front of your eyes and it's within easy reach. Where are you failing to see that the work has been done and all that's needed is a shift in delivery date?
Amazing, amazing.
And sometimes it's as simple as that. The thing that we want is so much closer than we think.
But what I've said as well is that if you want something, it's already here. So, because otherwise you wouldn't be able to envision it. It's like what you desire is already here in the energy. Now it's finding out what's keeping you away from really experiencing that reality, because it is all about alignment. It's like, this is why it's like, if you want anything, go to the energy first and it will appear.
Yes.
So it's like, sounds like counterintuitive. And what I have been noticing about those cards that that have come up in this call is that they've all been the magenta, and it is showing that it is the divine feminine way first. And then taking the masculine. And the more that we as women claim our divine feminine power, we will be stronger, we'll have a stronger sense of what our divine masculine power is, but we will let our men be in their power. Because it's not about men being better or worse than women. That's not how it works. It's just like there is a place for both energies to come together, to entwine, and it's about honoring and respecting each of those energies rather than overcoming either of them. And I think this is the learning. It's just like in society and in business, people gave the power or the recognition to the masculine way. That doesn't work in my experience. And in all of my clients, when they'd come to, because their business isn't working. And it's funny, we go back to the relationship, like where I have to work sometimes on the relationships that they're in. They were like, this has got nothing to do with your business. I was like, it's got everything to do with your business.
I learned that the hard way.
It's got everything to do with it. Or we have to go into before conception, or we have to go into past life. So there are so many different programs and elements that are playing that are not seen. And it's like, these are the things, people are focusing on what they can see in front of their nose. I'm like, don't you worry about that. It's what you're not seeing is what actually you need to be looking at. And once you do that, then everything actually falls into place without you doing anything, because you just think it and it comes, So it's just like, you couldn't have timed these cards as well, because they are the perfect cards for this time.
And there's such a piece around the timing that is worth a mention, because we all have a sense of how long we think a project should take. And our logical brain says, well, if I do it here and it comes in there, and this part of it should take this long and that part of it should take that long. I cannot tell you how many strange and wonderful little bumps in the road to get these cards that I could actually hold them in my hand and get them ready for distribution. And I mean, Marcia, you just made me laugh, because when you got the cards, you said they could not be more perfectly timed. And I said, do you know what? I never could have known that they were going to land on my desk just before every factory shut down and we couldn't have got anything out of anywhere. And they are perfectly timed for the biggest point in change history that I can remember globally. Mm-hmm. And I was beating myself up, telling myself that I wasn't professional, telling myself I wasn't moving fast enough, marveling at all the strange and wonderful things that seem to be holding this project up. And once again, divine intervention comes in, timing is perfect, everything is lined up, and we're good to go. And so that's one thing that I would say to people as well. Just please guard against this incredibly punitive place that we can find ourselves in when we're working on our creative projects, because it's your job to just show up and do the thing that feels exciting to you, and to just keep showing up. Now, instead of looking for logic, I look for, you've probably heard the phrase before, Marcia, that energy that happens that gives you the push to take the aligned action.
Oh yeah, I talk about it all the time, aligned action, yeah.
And it's not the thing that comes from here, because we can do as many business plans as we want, and we can tell ourselves off and have a timeline that will just get laughed at by the universe, because it knows better. As long as you're showing up and you're doing your divine work, then trust me, because I've learned from bitter experience of beating myself up that the plan is bigger than you.
Yeah, totally.
Show up and do the best you can with what you've got in front of you, and do the stuff that you feel excited by, and don't feel guilty. I think sometimes when we feel excited about things and we think, well, this isn't work, this is just me messing around doing something that's fun, you know, this is deeply irresponsible. No, that's your soul work.
Yeah.
That's what it's all about.
Yeah. And I think the work is the perseverance and the keeping the belief and taking action on the thing that is not logic, right? So that's kind of the work, because it's something, until it becomes your new normal, right? But at the beginning, all the, the mind will come in, and you will receive as well criticisms from people that don't understand. And it's just like, you at the end of the day comes back to, you are the authority, but also to be mindful that when, there's a fine line about the authority of your mind or the authority of your heart. And if you're clinging on too much, I say, do you want to be right or do you want to be happy? I will be happy, hands down. So it's like, there is that fine line, and the only way is to know yourself, know your cues, know who you are on a soul level, work on finding tools like using these cards. What I love about these cards is that in my sessions, I will be working on something and we will be doing something, and I'll say, I'll pull a card, and just like we experienced today, the card will be exactly what we were talking about. And I said, I'm sorry, you could not make this up, Yeah. So we need affirmations, reminders, and we need to realize as human beings that we no longer need to change through pain or struggle.
Oh, gosh, yes.
Okay, so we change through empowerment, through ease, through joy, through courage, through expansion, not through limitation. And this is the shift. And this is what I feel
heavenly.
Are here to say to us. Get out of, drop the struggle, drop the limitation, and pick up in your hands the ease, the joy, the softness, the rest, the well-being, and the rest takes care of itself.
Yes.
So how they can get these cards? They can buy these cards where?
Oh, bless you. I have a website. It's wendypryor.com. And when you land on the website, if you want to know a little bit more about the cards, then you can go to the Wisdom of Change tab and just click the Oracle deck thing, and that'll tell you a little bit more about the deck and what you get. Or if you just I love the cards, I just want to get them, there's a nice red button that my gorgeous techie guy has put in there for me. You can just go on to wendypryor.com and press buy the deck, and it'll take you straight there if you just want to get the deck in the post for yourself as soon as possible.
Wonderful. The perfect tool for this time. So thank you very much, Wendy, for spending this amazing time together and sharing your wisdom and your story and inspiring everybody. And I want to thank you all for watching, and I'm really want you to see, what would be great once I've posted this video, if you could just comment, what is the 1 or 2 takeaways that you got from this interview? And I'll also put Wendy's website link under the video. And let's do it, everyone. It is time. The wisdom of change.
Thank you so much. I've really enjoyed it. Gosh, we could be on here all day, couldn't we?
Totally.
Thank you so much, Marcia.
You're welcome. Thanks a million.